American homeowners spend $200 every spring on hanging feeders and flower baskets that hummingbirds fly right past without a second glance. Nobody ever showed you the 20 native plants that make a yard impossible for a hummingbird to ignore, because that knowledge simply was not passed down. These 20 plants are matched one-to-one with 20 different hummingbirds recorded in the United States, from common backyard visitors to rare wanderers most Americans will never see anywhere else. And the one at number 20, that is, the one most nurseries do not even carry. Somewhere in this video is the story of a retired teacher in Texas whose yard attracted a hummingbird she had never even heard of until she checked what she had planted. Before plant number 1, drop your state in the comments right now. Your USDA zone completely changes which of these performs best in your yard, and I will be calling out specific zones throughout this entire video. Plant number 1, Scarlet Gilia. Most gardeners walk past Scarlet Gilia at the nursery because it looks too delicate to matter. This Rocky Mountain native carries brilliant red tubular clusters from June through August and thrives in zones 3 through 9 for about $4 to $8 a plant. In coastal California and Oregon gardens, it is one of the primary nectar sources for Allen's hummingbird, a species with a range so narrow that most Americans in the other 47 states will never see one at a feeder. Allen's hummingbird favors these tubular blooms specifically because its short bill fits the flower's shape almost perfectly. The common mistake is planting it in rich garden soil. Scarlet Gilia actually prefers the lean, rocky soil closer to its native range. Give it dry, well-drained ground and skip the fertilizer entirely. But this yard did not stop at one solution. Plant number 2 does something Scarlet Gilia never will, and most American gardeners walk past it every single season. Plant number 2, Lucifer Sage. There is a hummingbird in Texas so rare that most birders drive 6 hours just for a chance to see it. Lucifer Sage, or Salvia darcei, produces brilliant scarlet spikes from June through November in zones 7 through 10 for $5 to $10 a plant. And it is a Chihuahuan desert, native built for heat. In the Big Bend region of Texas and New Mexico, this plant blooms in the same elevation band where the Lucifer hummingbird is found, a species with an unusually long curved bill, and in males, an elongated purple gorget that flares outward like whiskers. The Lucifer hummingbird is one of the least commonly seen hummingbirds in the country, specifically because its U.S. range is so limited. The mistake most gardeners make is planting it in a shaded bed. This sage needs full, unfiltered sun to bloom well. Full sun only and water sparingly once established. But nature did not end with one answer. Plant number 3 attracts something entirely different, and most backyards are missing it completely. Plant number 3, Mountain Sage. The largest hummingbird in the United States is nearly twice the size of a ruby-throated hummingbird, and most Americans have never heard its name. Mountain Sage, or Salvia regla, is a Chisos Mountains native that blooms late, from September through November, with orange, red flowers, hardy in zones 7 through 10 for $5 to $10 a plant. In the Chisos and Huachuca mountain ranges of Texas and Arizona, this late bloom lines up with the presence of the blue-throated mountain gem, a large, gray-green hummingbird with a striking sky blue throat patch on males. Its size and late-season feeding pattern make mountain sage one of the more reliable late-fall nectar sources in that mountain corridor. The mistake here is treating it as a spring bloomer and cutting it back too early. That removes the very flowers this bird depends on. Let it grow untouched through summer so the fall blooms can form. And plant number 4 takes everything one step further. A plant so overlooked that most American nurseries stopped stocking it years ago. Plant number 4, Pelespike lobelia. One of the most dramatically colored hummingbirds in North America has a purple crown, a green throat, and a black chest, and it lives only in a handful of mountain ranges in Arizona and New Mexico. Pilespike lobelia carries pale blue tubular blooms from June through August. A mountain meadow native hardy in zones 4 through 8 for $4 to $8 a plant. Lobelia species are documented nectar sources in high-elevation mountain gardens. Exactly the sky. Island habitat favored by the magnificent hummingbird, sometimes called Rivoli's hummingbird. This is the largest hummingbird regularly found north of Mexico outside of the blue-throated mountain gem. The common mistake is planting lobelia in a hot, dry bed. It actually needs consistent moisture to perform. Keep the soil evenly moist, never bone dry, for the best bloom. And plant number 5 attracts something entirely different, and most backyards are missing it completely. Plant number 5, Eastern Bee Balm. Southeastern Arizona canyons attract one of the most sought-after rare hummingbirds among American birders, and it has a red bill tipped in black that no other U.S. hummingbird shares. Eastern Bee Balm, or Monarda bradburyiana, produces pale lavender, pink blooms from May into June, a woodland, edge native hardy in zones 4 through 8 for $5 to $9 a plant. Monarda species are a documented nectar source in the mountain canyon gardens, where the white-eared hummingbird occasionally appears as a rare visitor from Mexico. This species is prized specifically because of how uncommon a sighting is north of the border. The mistake most gardeners make is planting it in full afternoon sun. This Monarda actually prefers dappled woodland, edge light. Give it morning sun and afternoon shade for the healthiest blooms. But this yard did not stop at one solution. Plant number 6 does something Eastern Bee Balm never will, and most American gardeners walk past it every single season. Plant number 6, Crossvine. A hummingbird with rusty brown wings and an iridescent green body has occasionally been documented breeding inside the United States. And most American birders will go a lifetime without seeing one. Crossvine, or Bignonia capreolata, produces orange, red trumpet clusters in April and May, a native vine hardy in zones 6 through 9 for $8 to $15 a plant. In southeastern Arizona canyon gardens, Crossvine's spring bloom is a documented draw for the Barreline hummingbird, an exceptionally rare visitor from Mexico. Every confirmed sighting of this species in the U.S. is treated as a notable event among serious birders. The mistake most gardeners make is planting crossvine against a weak trellis. This vine grows heavy and needs sturdy support from the start. Install a solid trellis or arbor before the vine matures. But nature did not end with one answer. Plant number 7 attracts something entirely different, and most backyards are missing it completely. Plant number 7, Firecracker Plant. One of the most elegant-looking hummingbirds in America has a violet-purple crown set against pure white underparts, and it is found in only a narrow strip of the Southwest. Firecracker Plant, or Roselia equisetiformis, cascades with red tubular blooms nearly year, round in warm climates, hardy in zones 9 through 11 for $6 to $12 a plant. In southeastern Arizona and the far southwest corner of New Mexico, this plant is a documented year-round nectar source for the violet-crowned hummingbird, a species almost never seen outside that small range. Its long, continuous bloom cycle makes it unusually reliable compared to most seasonal nectar plants. The common mistake is planting it where winter frost reaches it. This plant is not frost hardy and needs container protection in marginal zones. Grow it in a pot in cooler zones so you can bring it in before frost. And plant number 8 takes everything one step further. A plant so overlooked that most American nurseries stopped stocking it years ago. A retired teacher in Zone 9, Texas, spent one spring planting Standing Cypress, Firebush, and Cigar Plant along her back fence, mostly hoping to see a few more ruby-throated hummingbirds than usual. By late summer, she noticed a hummingbird at the Firebush that looked nothing like the one she was used to. Smaller bill, different coloring, unfamiliar behavior. She photographed it and posted the photos to a regional birding group for identification. Local birders confirmed it as a Green Violetear, a species that only rarely wanders north from Mexico and Central America into the Gulf Coast states. She had not set out to attract a rare bird. She had simply planted for the common ones and left the door open for something unexpected. Cornell Labs' eBird platform exists precisely so sightings like hers can be documented and shared with the wider birding community. Stories like this are common wherever gardeners plant a range of nectar sources rather than a single variety. It is a reminder that even ordinary backyard choices can occasionally produce an extraordinary result. That same principle carries through the next 6 plants in this list. Plant number 8, Firebush. A brilliant green hummingbird with a violet, blue ear patch occasionally turns up in Texas, Louisiana, and Florida gardens. Thousands of miles from its normal range in Mexico and Central America. Firebush, or Hummingbird patens, blooms continuously with orange, red tubular clusters. Hardy in zones 8 through 11 for $5 to $12 a plant. Gulf Coast gardens with Firebush have documented occasional visits from the Green Violetear during rare wandering events, most often in late summer. This species is considered one of the more exciting vagrant sightings in American birding circles. The mistake most gardeners make is underwatering Firebush in its first season. It needs regular water while establishing, even though it becomes fairly drought-tolerant later. Water deeply and regularly for the first full season. But this yard did not stop at one solution. Plant number 9 does something Firebush never will, and most American gardeners walk past it every single season. Plant number 9, Hummingbird Sage. A rare hummingbird from Mexico has an unusually long bill and an iridescent red throat stripe. And its handful of us records come almost entirely from Arizona and Texas. Hummingbird sage, or Salvia spathacea, produces large pink magenta blooms from March through May, a California native hardy in zones 7 through 10 for $5 to $10 a plant. This sage is documented as a nectar draw in California gardens during vagrant hummingbird events, including occasional appearances by the plain-capped starthroat. Its long bill and large size make it one of the most dramatic rare hummingbirds to appear north of the border. The common mistake is overwatering this sage. It is drought-adapted and rots quickly in soggy soil. Water only when the top few inches of soil are dry. And plant number 10 attracts something entirely different, and most backyards are missing it completely. Plant number 10, Cigar Plant. Cigar Plant, or Kufia micropetala, blooms orange, yellow from summer through frost. Hardy in zones 8 through 11 for $4 to $8 a plant. In Miami-Dade area gardens, Kufia species are a documented nectar draw during rare appearances of the Bahama woodstar, a species that naturally lives in the Bahamas and only occasionally reaches South Florida. Males show a striking pink, purple gorget against a green back. This is one of the least frequently recorded hummingbirds anywhere in the continental United States. The mistake most gardeners make is planting it too late in the season to establish before bloom. Get it in the ground early for full summer color. Plant in spring, so roots establish before peak summer heat. Tell me your state in the comments below. Your growing zone changes everything about which of these performs best in your yard. And plant number 11 does something Cigar Plant never will. Plant number 11, Standing Cypress. By late August, eastern hummingbirds are packing on fat for a non-stop flight that, for some individuals, crosses the entire Gulf of Mexico. Standing Cypress, or Ipomopsis rubra, sends up tall scarlet spires from June through September, a self-seeding biennial hardy in zones 6 through 9 for $4 to $8 a plant. Standing Cypress is documented as an important pre-migration fueling plant for ruby-throated hummingbirds across the eastern United States, the only hummingbird that regularly breeds east of the Mississippi. Late summer bloom timing lines up almost exactly with the peak fattening period before southbound migration begins. The mistake most gardeners make is deadheading it too aggressively. Let some seed heads mature so it recedes for next year. Leave a few spent blooms standing to let the plant reseed naturally. And plant number 12 takes everything one step further. A plant so overlooked that most American nurseries stopped stocking it years ago. Plant number 12, red buckeye. Every spring, western hummingbirds return to the same breeding grounds within days of each other, and one native tree blooms at exactly the right moment to greet them. Red buckeye, or Aesculus pavia, produces red tubular spikes in April and May, hardy in zones 5 through 9 for $20 to $45 a plant. Red buckeye is documented as an early season nectar source for returning black-chinned hummingbirds establishing breeding territories across the western and central United States. Males often perch near a strong nectar source while defending territory from rivals. The mistake most gardeners make is planting red buckeye in full sun in hot southern climates. It actually prefers partial shade in the deep south. Give it afternoon shade if you garden in the deep south. But nature did not end with one answer. Plant number 13 attracts something entirely different, and most backyards are missing it completely. Plant number 13, hummingbird mint. One American hummingbird never migrates south at all, and it depends on a handful of late bloomers to survive winters in California and Arizona. Hummingbird mint, or Agastache canna, produces deep rose, pink blooms from July through October, hardy in zones 5 through 9 for $5 to $10 a plant. Its extended bloom window makes it a documented late-season nectar source for Anna's hummingbird, the only U.S. hummingbird species that overwinters in place rather than migrating. Anna's hummingbird has expanded its winter range significantly over recent decades, following gardens planted with year-round nectar sources like this one. The common mistake is cutting Agastache back in early fall. That removes exactly the blooms overwintering birds need most. Leave the last flush of blooms standing into late fall, and plant number 14 does something hummingbird mint never will, and most American gardeners walk past it every single season. Plant number 14, lemon bee balm, the world's longest distance migrating hummingbird. Relative to its size, travels a round trip of roughly 3,900 miles between Alaska and Mexico every single year. Lemon bee balm, or Monarda citriodora, produces pink-purple whorled blooms from June through August. A lemon-scented annual reliably hardy in zones 4 through 9 for $4 to $8 a plant. Rufous hummingbirds are documented moving through the Great Plains and Rocky Mountain corridor during July southbound migration, and Monarda species along that route provide critical mid-journey fuel. This species is known among birders for its assertive, sometimes aggressive feeding behavior at flowers and feeders alike. The mistake most gardeners make is treating this Monarda as a perennial. It typically behaves as a reseeding annual and needs replanting or self-seeding each year. Let a few blooms go to seed each fall for next year's crop, and plant number 15 attracts something entirely different, and most backyards are missing it completely. Plant number 15, Salvia Wendy's Wish, above 7,000 feet in the Rocky Mountains. One hummingbird's wing beats produce an audible trill that some hikers hear before they ever see the bird. Salvia Wendy's Wishes blooms deep magenta, pink almost continuously, hardy in zones 9 through 11, or grown as an annual elsewhere, for $5 to $10 a plant. In high-elevation mountain gardens, salvia hybrids like this one are a documented nectar source for the broad-tailed hummingbird, a species commonly found breeding at elevations most other U.S. hummingbirds avoid. The male's wing trill is produced by specialized wing feathers and is often the first sign of the bird's approach. The common mistake at high elevation is planting it too late for a short mountain growing season. Start it indoors or buy larger nursery stock for a head start. Start with larger transplants if your growing season is short. And plant number 16 attracts something entirely different, and most backyards are missing it completely. Plant number 16, pink turtlehead. The smallest bird in all of North America weighs about as much as a ping-pong ball, and by late August it is racing to fuel up before a long migration south. Pink turtlehead, or Cairlone lyonnais, Blooms deep pink from August into September. Hardy in zones 4 through 9 for $5 to $10 a plant. This late summer bloom window lines up with the pre-migration feeding period for the Calliope hummingbird, the smallest bird species in North America. Despite its tiny size, this species breeds at high elevations across the western mountains before migrating impressive distances each fall. The mistake most gardeners make is planting pink turtlehead in dry soil. It actually prefers consistently moist, even boggy conditions. Plant it near a downspout or low spot where moisture collects. But this yard did not stop at one solution. Plant number 17 does something pink turtlehead never will, and most American gardeners walk past it every single season. Saf. Plant number 17, lemon sage. Lemon sage, or Salvia lemonii, produces rose, red to magenta blooms from summer through fall. Hardy in zones 7 through 10 for $5 to $10 a plant. In Sonoran desert gardens, this sage is a documented post-monsoon bloom visitor plant for the Costa's hummingbird, a species adapted to some of the hottest, driest habitat of any U.S. hummingbird. Males display an extraordinary elongated purple gorget that flares outward during courtship display flights. The common mistake is overwatering desert-adapted sages like this one, which quickly leads to root rot. Water deeply but infrequently, letting soil dry between waterings. Have you ever grown this plant or seen this bird in your yard? Drop it below. I read every comment, and plant number 18 attracts something entirely different. Plant number 18, Salvia coccinea, lady in red. One American hummingbird does the opposite of what most migratory birds do. It moves north into Texas for the winter rather than south. Salvia coccinea, lady in red, produces brilliant red compact spikes in continuous bloom. Hardy in zones 8 through 10 or grown as an annual elsewhere, for $4 to $8 a plant. This variety is documented as a winter nectar source in Texas Gulf Coast gardens for the buff-bellied hummingbird, which shifts its range northward along the coast during the colder months. This pattern surprises many gardeners who assume every hummingbird disappears once temperatures drop. The mistake most people make is pulling out Salvia coccinea at the first frost warning. Light frosts often only damage the tips, and the plant frequently rebounds. Wait for a hard freeze before removing it, not just a light frost. And plant number 19 takes everything one step further. A plant so overlooked that most American nurseries stopped stocking it years ago. We are not ending here. 3 more things worth knowing before you plant any of this. First, tubular red and orange flowers are not a coincidence. Hummingbirds see red exceptionally well, and many co-evolved with tubular shapes that fit their bills while excluding most competing pollinators. Second, native plants generally outperform hybrids for reliability, since local hummingbirds evolved alongside them and recognized them as dependable nectar sources across generations. Third, a mixed planting that blooms from March through January, as this list does, will consistently outperform any single hummingbird plant sold at a big box store. Across all 20 plants, total cost runs $100 to $220 one time, compared with $400 to $780 a year in nectar for feeders alone. And most of these establish within 1 to 2 growing seasons for gardeners in the correct zone. You just received zone-accurate, dollar-grounded, nature-referenced bird and garden wisdom that most channels never put in one place. Subscribe now and turn on the bell, with the plants matched to your own USDA zone, rather than trying to grow all 20 at once. Mark your zone on a plant tag or garden map before you buy anything, so you are not guessing later. Plant in early spring or in warm zones in fall, so root systems establish before the harshest weather arrives. If a plant fails within its first season, despite correct zone and light, do not force it. Swap it for a different species suited to your exact soil and moisture conditions. Here is the honest limitation. Several of these plants attract genuinely rare, vagrant hummingbirds, and even a perfectly planted yard in the right region may never see one of those rare visitors. Most of these sightings remain uncommon, no matter what you plant. The realistic goal is a yard that reliably supports the common hummingbirds in your region, with rare visitors as a possible bonus, not a guarantee. Subscribe to this channel. The plants that bring birds to your yard are still out there, and we find them every single week, zone by zone, dollar by dollar, backed by real nature science instead of guesswork.